Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Michelle Saeed, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Craig Arthur James, the managing partner and co-founder of CatStrat Services, a unit of Catalyst Strategies LLC, joining us. He interviews thought leaders like Seth Godin, and he is a modern philosopher revolutionizing really this industry. So, since co founding CatStrat with his partner, he's empowered organizations and individuals with empathetic leadership coaching, strategic facilitation, and sales solutions, from driving a $20 million capital campaign for Great Lakes Theater to really creating the Connection series for regional growth. Craig's work blends wisdom, strategy, and purpose. We'll explore his founding story, how CatStrat fosters clarity, and his vision for scaling this lifestyle-driven consultancy. So on that note, let's dive in. Craig, welcome to Founders Future.
Yeah, thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me. Man, you're good. You covered a lot there. You make me sound pretty good.
Oh, I'm gonna give you the mic. You're gonna cover all the details. We're just gonna get started. Let's kick things off for our listeners. Take us back to the beginning. What specific problem in the leadership or organizational strategy landscape, perhaps around lack of clarity or ineffective facilitation, inspired you to start CatStrat Services?
Thanks for asking. I have some inspiration elements for sure. But I'll take you back, since you asked me to go back to the beginning. Really, I think there's some relevance to the not so inspiring part, perhaps. The fact that sometimes we end up in things without some sort of Shazam moment of inspiration. I believe in inspiration, and we utilize Ikigai, if you're familiar, as a tool where we find our passion, what we're great at, what we can monetize, and what the world needs. I believe in those things fully. But when it comes to our story, just let it happen. The catalyst to it was I was area director in IT for a company, and that area got de-areaed, so it didn't need any directoring anymore. And things happen, then you either embrace them or you fight them. And the right thing to have been to do perhaps would have been just, oh, I have to jump back on the train, get another area director position. I can't have a gap on my resume. But fortunately, my partner in life and business, Sue, said, Craig, why don't we just pause for a second?
Right.
Let things happen, embrace them, take a pause, and then regroup. And thankfully, the power of the pause caused us to have some more deeper discussions around what do we really want to do in life. And Sue told me, my partner, she said, you've always wanted to start something of your own. And so we did. So I don't know if you call that inspiration necessarily. Maybe there's some inspiration in there, but that's the story. That's how it all began.
I love that. And it really does, it connects with the listeners. And I know there's so many of them right now. They're probably in their corporate job or something else, and they're feeling as if it's the golden handcuffs being such a popular saying. It's like, should I leave? Should I stay? What should I do? So I'm excited to now dive into really like your offer evolution. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of that. Even like for some potential clients that might be tuning in, walk us through how CatStrat generates revenue today. What are the core offerings, like some of the one-on-one coaching, organizational consulting, and also if you can talk to us about how you structure what you do for your clients, such as individuals and some of the organizations.
There's a lot in there. Good questions. There's a few questions there. Thanks for asking. In terms of how we generate revenue, it's part of our story is, excuse me, kind of simplicity. This actually takes us full circle back to launch. One of the things I had been thinking about anticipating our chat, and if I were to offer some advice or thoughts, how do you launch? You launch. The big part of launch is the launch part. And it's really ironic. This relates to your offerings question. We do and have done a lot of strategic planning, all those things in business, KPIs and milestones and critical path and outcomes and metrics and measures, strategy, bridging mission, vision, value with tactical actions, all that stuff we've done. But we didn't do that for ourselves. I think if we overthought it, we probably wouldn't have launched. So I'm taking you back to your first question.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important point for founders or potential founders. If you're in a golden handcuff situation, it's easy to say, but launch. And maybe it's a side hustle. We go around this life once, at least on this planet. In terms of our offerings, to be a little more nuts and bolts with you, this is not the first company that's thought about consulting. So there's a life cycle. We started with business development and growth related to your question. I grew up in sales management and general management, so that was back of the hand. Help companies grow. However, we found a very interesting thing that shaped our offerings and how we generate our revenue. One was that usually if there's a growth or a sales challenge, quite typically there's some sort of strategic thing behind it.
Mm.
And if there's a strategy or a planning issue, chances are there are humans or a leadership team behind that. And if there is a leadership team there, chances are there are individual humans within that team. So that has shaped. We went and have gone from business development, sales consulting process, even a little bit of training, to big picture strategy and planning, to leadership development, to now our model is, and there's a business model point to be made about this, by the way, that founders might relate to. We're now probably 80% coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So went from business development to strategy to team to leadership to coaching. That's part preferential because we love it. One-on-one coaching, a blended integrated model. Some say, are you an executive coach? Yes. Are you a life coach? Yes. Are you a career coach? Yes. Now that might be a diluted message to the market, but in our times, in this era, especially since there is no separation, there really isn't. But to business model, what we found is that from a revenue standpoint, if we were focused solely on consulting, meaning working with organizations in larger contracts, the upside is the rate can be higher. And you're feeling pretty flush when you're in a couple of these engagements. The downside is you're kind of hero to zero, we used to say in the sales days. You find a struggle between business development and delivery if you're a small enterprise. And so everything's riding fine until it drops. And when it drops, you're behind the 8 ball because you haven't been doing the business development. So what we found, not only we love the coaching, it's satisfying and fulfilling, we found it made business sense to smooth out the curve a little bit. A dose of consulting engagement here and there gives a nice shot in the arm. And we enjoy that too. But there's a baseline of coaching, the revenue, client comes in or a client goes out, it doesn't shift the whole picture a whole bunch. And then the consulting gigs are gravy on top of that. We do more of a retained approach if people are interested in how do consultants or coaches want to bill. We lean away from hourly or per session. That a la carte kind of thing turns it into almost a commodity transaction where we want to be there with our client however they need. And so those are shaped by retained relationships.
Love that. Yeah. From what it sounds like, it's like you said, the blended integrated model. You're not just focused on really one aspect of just coaching and that delivery, the tangibles, right? At the end of the day. Now, building on your growth and really, you've done a lot of LinkedIn storytelling on empathetic resonance, and your podcast as well being another way to connect with the audience. Which channels, whether it's referrals, your own Cleveland network, or thought leadership, have been like the most effective for landing some of your coaching and consulting clients? If you can share with the listeners.
Certainly, it's a blend again, and we've been in business now for 24 years. So it's shifted over time, but there are some themes that have stayed throughout. There's an old school thing going on here, and it's called word of mouth reputation referral. The lead to the next new client is the conclusion of a satisfied prior, and one feeds the other. So we don't do an awful lot of like mass market push or campaigns to drive new client business. It's more of a life cycle of satisfy, refer, next. However, I would say that's shifted. There's like a new era of old school. The tenets of old school would be relationship, reputation again, connection, patient persistence, one at a time, sustained incremental growth, all those things. Other things in our business model, debt-free, cash mentality. Now, we've had clients in real estate development, and there's a whole nother model that says make money with other people's money and get leveraged, high risk, high reward. We're a boutique lifestyle. Keep it simple. If money comes in, we can allow money go out. If there isn't, then we don't. And so that simplicity, that elegance keeps it simple, but there's a new era of old school, which is characterized by, look what we're doing right now. I think this is probably good for business for you, right? Your business and what you guys do helps people like me. There's a great symbiosis here. This helps me telegraph to the market who I am, and it all comes out in the wash. So we have a new tech enabled, Zoom virtual, hyper connected, AI enabled, AI note taking, massive amounts of data recording, content, search, all these things, and engaging in those technologies in an old school way is a new way to leverage those old principles. So LinkedIn has been probably the podcast was a creative, fun expression.
Yeah.
Did it have some indirect value, and maybe as a thought leader, and that led to or it engendered some business for us? Maybe. I don't know. That wasn't the motivation. LinkedIn was a surpriser. Since COVID and the embrace of virtual global, you spoke to Cleveland. We have some clients in Cleveland still. Our in-person relationships are here. Been here my whole life, but now we're global. Clients all over the place. Thanks to people being willing to do this in a coaching setting. 80% of our coaching sessions are this. And it's very effective. It's not because we have to. It's probably the best model. Phone can be good, in-person can be good, but there's pros and cons. And LinkedIn Surpriser was a business generator. We didn't overtly aim to do it. I just like being active on it. I like to connect. And I don't know, 8, 9, I've lost track, number of clients out of left field thanks to LinkedIn. So that's been I would say, a game changer in our business model.
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying earlier on. It's just like we're now in this new era using the old era principles essentially on being connected, building a community, and how can, we get into the room to not just be the expert, but also learn from the other experts and gain from each other, which I love. And even on LinkedIn, a lot of your thought leadership, your own storytelling through your experiences you were sharing earlier, I'm sure that's one of the aha moments, right? For anyone who comes across and they're like, hey, I see myself in Craig and I want to know more about how he can help me and what I can do to help him.
That's satisfying how you phrase that. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's incredible. I have some deep friendships since COVID now of 3, 4, 5 years that I've never met in person. It's incredible. One of those friends, his name's Mac. We do a thing online every couple months called Distinction Dialogues. And we compare different concepts like kind versus nice, power versus control. And one of our topics was proximity versus intimacy. And we begged the question, in person's always the best way. That's the only way you can build relationships. Not necessarily.
Right.
Yeah. So that deeper connection is possible all across the world more than ever before, which I could get into a whole nother discussion about the world, which I won't, but we have an opportunity as humans, should we choose, to connect, empathize, understand, relate, and build communities beyond borders.
Absolutely. And I'd love to learn about now your approach to really sales, right? More on the strategies and how you convert some of the leads that even come through on LinkedIn into long-term clients, partnerships, even friendships, right? What those relationships end up being. Are you leveraging also your podcast platform right now? Also, are you doing this on your own? Is your partner involved? Or have you thought about bringing a small team to be involved in the conversations?
Okay, so the podcast is a more creative endeavor. It's out there. I still refer to it, but we did 3 seasons and it's idled at the moment, so it's not an active part. But I love that kind of thing that could resurface. It'd probably again be more of a creative expression.
Yeah.
My partner Sue is beyond part of it. We're in it together. We met 38 years ago in the workplace. Big corporate merger brought us together, so we've been working together ever since, and we're a team. We're fortunate in that 1 + 1 = 3 or 4. It really does. We can bring an extra value, even though there's just 2 of us. We had contemplated, we were even encouraged, incubated in an accelerator office space, grow so many employees, and we decided not to consciously. Part of why we do this, maybe it's not inspiration, but motivation, is the latitude, the flexibility, the sense of direct impact, even if it's not millions of people. I believe in ripples, 1% at a time. And so we decided not to. We played around with subcontracting, or we've done some deals where we found the deal and then brought someone else in and we actually subbed under them. We've worked in team environments and can do, but mostly we're boutique. We may change up our model a little bit in terms of delivery, in terms of our offerings. We may expand into more group coaching, some other models that could be maybe online content that doesn't require dollar for hour kind of presence. We're thinking through some of that.
Yeah, I love that. From what it sounds like, you're very disruptive, and it would be so great to see more of you. If you could clone yourself, you can help more and more people. That would be awesome. Now, with everything you've accomplished, really your thought leadership, really the creative expression behind the podcast, and even the connection series, what's top of mind right now for growing CatStrat over the next 6 to 12 months?
So what's top of mind there is different flavors of growth. We usually think of scale in some quantitative term, more, bigger, maybe some of that, but more so smart incrementalism for the future. I think the other types of growth is grow out, not just up, out, meaning, as I just alluded to, be smart about some of our even contingent thinking. What is and how will coaching be shaped by AI, for example? And instead of worry about it in some threatening way, we've chosen to engage in it, leverage it. So think in what's happening out there and how can that be an opportunity.
Mm.
There's a guy named Todd Henry who's a podcaster too, and he has a podcast, The Daily Creative, and he talked about how to thrive and be calm in chaos. And he talked about counter-cyclical thinking and how Amazon, after the dot-com bust,
Mm.
stock went down 90%. Bezos could have stayed in books, but went marketplace, and the rest is history. You'd think that would be the time to hunker down and play conservative, careful, and he innovated. So we're thinking about how do we grow our thinking? How do we grow our offerings? How do we engage the technologies? I spend now sessions with clients. We co-prompt Chat GPT together. So we have a co-coaching experience, client, me, and Chat GPT. And the quality of the prompts are everything. And we explore through some great discovery together. The other growth, this is a philosophical one, is not about out there. It's about in here. Growth constantly. I've heard it said to live a joyous life, it's more smiles than tears, change and novelty, and growth and learning. So I think we could probably be like super successful on paper and do all kinds of things and, grow massively. I'm pretty confident we have the capability to do that. But I'd rather grow as a person, keep learning.
Yeah.
So those are the three-pronged growth approaches.
I love that. And you're being vulnerable about that as well. It's like, keep evolving, keep developing, keep learning. Now, the growth has been steady from what it sounds like, and you're looking to evolve in a lot of other ways. If you can share with some of the listeners that, that are founders and they're still trying to find their footing, what are some of the bottlenecks? If there is like a bottleneck that stands out to you with CatStrat, what would it be? Is it even attracting qualified, high value leads, scaling the delivery, which I know you mentioned? What are you most focused on solving to keep all of the momentum going?
Another good multi-part question. There's this is the less high and mighty part. This is practical stuff. A certain stick-to-itiveness. Just keep the ball rolling. Since I grew up in sales, the old saying, it's a numbers game. I don't mean that in some sort of opportunistic way per se, but keep yourself out there. Keep providing value. Lend a thought. Stay connected. Connect others. That's our basic go-to-market strategy, and just stick with it and hopefully enjoy it and have fun doing it. Bottlenecks you asked about, if I look back, and maybe even still at times, this can be a bottleneck. Undervaluing self. Oh, I don't guilt, or I don't know what it, oh, gee, I hope don't charge too much kind of mentality. No, people, when you provide value that has an ROI, qualitative or quantitative, there's nothing wrong with charging for it.
Yeah.
And so it's how it works. And business people understand that. So I would recommend if I'm searching for advice, I would say don't sell yourself short. Trust your value. Other bottlenecks I spoke to earlier, the delivery BD, business development balance. Be careful. You get involved in the gig, you get all swept up and the scope creeps. If you're doing consulting, it gobbles you up and then you're left in a dearth for a while after, quite possibly, even though prior client leads to next. In the bigger deals, there's more of a gap and a lead time. You can't just turn it right on if you haven't been business developing. So be careful of that. Bottlenecks. As a boutique enterprise, or if you're a sole proprietor, quite often it's dollar for time, no matter how you charge. And there's only so much time. Basic advice would be alert to your high value activities. There's so many opportunities to have our time sucked from us now.
Mm.
I'm looking at my iPhone right now, and I admit, I don't even want to know how much time I spent on that thing. And if I'm really honest with myself, how much is it providing value and not? And so there's a lot of time escapes. Be careful with that. It's your primary commodity, especially in startup.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even that prioritization of the time as well, right? Like the busy work that's almost, I think, glamorized in work culture where it's like you have to keep busy, you always have to be doing something, but what is that outcome? Are
No
we
doubt.
focusing on the things that matter right now? And is this something that's going to solve and be more of a higher leverage outcome?
I'll tell you a 2 second story, and we're probably out of time here. Long ago, when I was a sales director, I worked in this company. There were lots of us across the country. We had this big team meeting at corporate and how to be better directors. And we, of course, didn't want to go, and we were given these assignments to time track, and we loathed that idea, and we whined about it, and we went back to the field and we did it. And the goal was this: the guy that led this called it GST, genuine selling time. The whole idea was, are we spending the high value time in the field? I have 18 sales reps, a lot of stuff going on, but really not fully aware of where all the energy is being spent. And this is before we had a lot of our hyperconnectivity and all these time soaks. Anyway, long story short, when we tracked our time, we were one of the better teams in the country. We all decided first what the criteria is. There's like 4 or 5 things that are absolutely essential to generating business. And are we spending time? Of course, we're spending a ton of time on that stuff. We all agreed. So those 4 or 5 things. Now we'll go back and track it. We were one of the better teams at 12% of our total time being spent on GST. 12. National average was 9. The point is 90% of our time was work we had decided wasn't essential to do. That was a huge aha. We didn't have to double the sales team to double sales. We just had to get smarter and leverage our GST and get that maybe from 12 to 14 or 15% could have a huge impact. So you're absolutely right. I'm just saying prioritization perhaps in a complicated way, but it's huge. And the awareness of it is harder now because we're convinced, and technologies are built to make us think this is an essential thing we have to do right now. Do we? Maybe not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's all about being intrinsic, right? And trusting what matters. I know we're out of time almost, but I have one last question that I really
Certainly.
want to ask. What advice would you give to founders just starting out, especially those that are building boutique firms in competitive spaces like the coaching and consulting industry? What would you say?
Yeah, it's a repeat of what I alluded to earlier. Do it, launch, start.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. If you, intrinsic, you're talking about intrinsic,
Mm.
or there's something in you intuitively that says, I'm meant to do this thing.
Mm.
You can plan and strategize and perfect and tweak as you go. But
Yeah.
if you don't start, you'll have nothing to tweak. And our coaching business started in 2014. Our firm started in 2001 with consulting. The guy that, thanks to him, we got into this. He was coach of coaches. His name's Jim. And I said, Jim, what's your advice? How do you get in this coaching thing? You've been doing this for decades. He said, he leaned over. He said, I've got one piece of advice for you. If you want to coach, coach. It was just like brilliant. So the elegance of that is just so powerful. And I would echo that to your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's all up here. It matters once you bring it to reality, and it's not
Yeah.
easy, but getting started, that's the hard part. And
As
imagine,
Seth Godin would say, ship it,
yeah,
ship it.
absolutely. And as Nike says, just do it. So, on that note, that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Craig, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us today. Really, your regional impact with the Connection series and co founding CatStrat Services and transforming a lot of leadership with empathy and strategy. It's truly inspiring. And we're so excited to follow the journey along later this year as well as things unravel. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find some more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class sales systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we'll see you all on the next one.